Hello everybody, this is Maniac4Bricks, and I'm here today with a video game haul. And the very peculiar thing about this one, aside from some of the items that are in here, is that I'm recording this on a camcorder, separate from what I normally record through my phone. It usually has a bunch of different things I can, import, export, edit with on its own. This time around, I'm just going to be doing it through a camcorder, completely separate device from my cell phone, and see how the footage turns out. I'm basically going to upload this raw without any modification or editing to it whatsoever, importing it from a micro SD card. So we'll see how everything goes throughout this video. So this was a particular visit that I actually took this past day or two as of uploading this, because I had to get my PS4 fixed. You see, there was an error that I had with it where the CD drive was not actually reading or even accepting the CDs. I would put a game right up to it and it wouldn't even suck it in as it would normally do. It doesn't have any kind of CD tray, for those that don't know. It basically just holds up to it and then it'll just suck in the rest of it with a couple of wheels, kind of like a MacBook when MacBooks used to have CD drives. I was trying to get Hot Wheels Unleashed to play on here because I had it a while ago. I sold it. I was like, oh, I want to play that again many months later. So I got it again for the PS4 because it was the only one I could find in any game store or Best Buy or anything around. So when that didn't work, I was like, well, what's my other option? I got the game for it was $17.99. GameStop had some deal on it to discount the price. And then I used a $5 coupon beyond that, so it actually became like $10. So it was almost 50% off what was the pre-owned price already. But if I can't play it, it's not going to do anything for me. So my next option was to bring it in to a game store I know, to get it fixed, looked at. Hopefully nothing else is corrupted with it, or the rest of the PS4 is still usable, and then I could go on my merry way with it. Worst case scenario, I'd have to get the PS4 replaced, or I could only digitally download games, so I wouldn't be able to use the CDs for really anything, or I'd have to not use it for DVDs or Blu-ray, other things that could be read on here through a disc. If there's a hard drive, was fine. Anyways, my other backup plan was using the Xbox One in order to get Hot Wheels Unleashed digitally. I couldn't find it physically, and I actually learned that through the Microsoft Store, they had the game digitally for $10, which is already a good deal. But even the $17, $18 price that I would have paid for the PS4 one originally, they had on here for the Game of the Year edition. So it had a whole bunch of extra DLC for almost the same price. It was like, I'd be dumb not to get that. So I digitally bought that. I have that saved on here. I have been playing through some of the cars over the past day, and it's been a lot of fun getting back into the game, even if I'm playing it on a different system than I started with. Good news, PS4 only took me $5 to get it cleaned. It was basically just about a deep cleaning through it. No hardware errors or nothing to replace or anything like that. So it actually does read disc fine. I was able to play Hot Wheels Unleashed on a PS4, and it's going good after that. I will get Snoopy one of these days because it comes around every so often. I want to really unlock that car and drive that around. But other cars I've been enjoying right now have been the Mystery Machine, a couple of scattered cars. I don't remember the names of them off the top of my head, but they just kind of have cool styles to them. Some of the Batman cars I've played with up to this point. And I'm trying to remember, I played with the Toaster earlier today with the PS4 one. Anyways, so because I made that trip out to a video game store, I decided to make the trip a little bit more worthwhile. I looked over my games list, I looked over my wanted list, and I had a couple other things in mind. So here's what we've got. There's actually a whole bunch of Lego stuff in here, believe it or not. So let's go through some of that first. Pretty much every demo disc that you see here in these big sleeves, it used to be with PlayStation Underground magazine. This is a magazine that was had in the UK, but also in the US, and they included demos of different PlayStation 2 games that were available every issue when you subscribe to it. So each of these demo discs I got specifically because there's a Lego demo on there. I like checking out the Lego demos. I've done that with a few games up to this point, and I really want to make a video about all the different releases of certain Lego games, or if there are differences between them. even with the demos. So it is nice having these to thoroughly investigate myself if I can't find footage elsewhere. So the top one up here, for what we need to know, the LEGO game involved is LEGO Star Wars, the original LEGO Star Wars. The one over here is LEGO Star Wars 2, the original trilogy. Down here we have LEGO Bionicle Heroes. This is even cool on its own. It may not have the disc cover like the LEGO Star Wars 2 does up here, which this one is just like the trailer or something. It's not even like the final box art or anything. That's cool on its own. And there's other games that are advertised as well on each side of it. This one gets the cover and the back cover. I think that's pretty cool. That's actually honorable, like, for being in the same game as well. Actually, most of these seem to do that. Now that I'm looking at them again, the Billy and Mandy from the back cover is also here. Okay, whatever. Still a good thing, even if it's not on the disc art itself. For this one, it actually isn't LEGO related. I have to look at this again, but this one had Guitar Hero 2. I wanted to see if there was any changes with the game structurally, and you can see that one is actually on the disc. It does have the disc art there. So, and it is on the back and the front. Yeah, wow, this one's got it all. So, okay, my bad. This one does not have to do with LEGO, but it's a demo disc. It was in the pile with the rest of them. I didn't remember which order they were. That's fine. So, this one does have it on the artwork. This one's the more finalized artwork that we would see for the cover of LEGO Star Wars 2, the original trilogy, which is also shown on there, and also has a video. Some of these have demos and videos. I believe the Bionicle one is demo and video? Yes, okay. Inside the game in Guitar Hero 2. Oh, well, there we go. Even more with that. This one, it's just the demo. This one, it's the demo and inside the game, for what that's worth. And then Guitar Heroes, I think that might be a different thing. I'm not sure. So this one, it's just the demo and video, which is cool. Alright. I've only heard about demo discs from PS2. I've only had a few demo discs from any console before this point. Like, I had a few from the original Xbox. I actually had I had a demo disc from the original Xbox a long time ago from the library. It had Voodoo Vince on the cover for reference. But I couldn't play it on my Xbox 360. I didn't have an original Xbox to play it on. I know my cousin did, but for some reason I never put those two things together. I don't have that anymore. I did have the original Xbox at one point, but couldn't get that demo disc again. I don't have the original Xbox anymore, but no biggie. And the demo discs I do have, I know are playable. I do have ones that I actually can put them to a system. Surprisingly, LEGO Drum Racers I didn't have for the PS2. I actually looked through my entire collection, took photos before I went out to the game store, and I realized, hell, this actually wasn't on there. So that's awesome. I couldn't remember if that was on my list before, but good to have that as part of it. I do have Drum Racers on GameCube, but it doesn't have the disc, or it doesn't have the case for the disc. It's just the disc on its own with like a cheap DVD case I got many years ago from like GameStop. The disc was also pretty cheap back then too. But either way, still cool to have the game available there as well. And this one's multiplayer, so I do have more than one controller to play it on there as well. And then the next LEGO thing we have here, this one's a bit faded, a bit very sun-bleached. It is LEGO Indiana Jones Legend Kit. This is one of many dozens upon dozens of Nintendo DS accessory packs that partnered with LEGO and other companies, usually made through PowerA or BDNA. And they're basically just accessories to, you know, style up your devices. So I've had a couple of these before with LEGO. I've actually reviewed a bunch of them way back in the day, in the early days of my LEGO YouTube channel, opening them up, brand new from Toys R Us. This one seems like it used to be from GameStop, according to that little fading on the tag there. But this one has apparently not been. It says it's new. Back says it's new. I'm a little suspicious about it because look at all that tearing in the back. I think this may have been opened and then resealed at some point, because why else would the cardboard be sticking out like that? So either way, I thought this would be cool to obtain, especially around the time of LEGO Indiana Jones, or just, you know, Indiana Jones, The Dial of Destiny. I haven't seen it yet, but that's cool nonetheless. And the stylus pen. Yeah, for some reason they make these as actual, like, clicky pens. You actually push the button in to get the stylus to pop out. Even though it's not ink, it's not going to wear out. It's not going to, you know, destroy your DS. I don't know. And then the very flexible DS case. These were usually made for some of the early models of the DS, the DSi. I don't think they made any for the 3DS or 3DS XL or 2DS. So if you are interested in, you know, glamming up your devices, it's going to be the earlier copies of the Nintendo DS. I still have a case around here with just the game cases, and I even have some of them loosely, where you just fit the DS games into each brick, and you can stack them on top of each other. I've seen people use them in Lego MOCs at Brick Fair, Virginia last year. It was really awesome. But we could always talk about all that and more on some other video. So it does have a couple of skins on the back of it. This was from 2008, around the time the Lego Indiana Jones games were available, as well as on the DS. But other systems, I have talked about that not too long ago, and Mini Superheroes Today also, I lent him some footage to talk about that on his own video. That's it for the Lego stuff. Now moving on to a bunch of everything else. So, Snoopy vs. the Red Baron. Start off with that PS2 game. This was a surprise. This is actually one of the last things I picked up, just by chance. I happened to see this on the shelf, because PS2 games, there was a lot of them, and I just happened to wander my eyes over this one, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember Paper Dawn's video, and they said it was a pretty good game, so I thought I'd try it out. It's a dogfighting, no pun intended, a dogfighting airplane type game, very unusual for the Peanuts franchise, but interesting nonetheless. I do like a share of these every once in a while from things like Rebel Strike or Rogue Squadron, so I thought I'd give this one a chance. And I figured with the Snoopy and Peanuts branding with it, it might be really fun. Wave Race Blue Storm. That's been on my mind for quite some time. I've had Wave Race 64 before, and I also kind of have a fondness for this one because I believe this was in the McDonald's kiosk I grew up with. They used to have demos of certain GameCube games, at least in my area at McDonald's, that you could play. And I believe this might have been the one that was in there, so I've been a little more attached to get this one again. Some other games, from what I can remember, Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. I think there was a Mario game. I don't remember if they had Billy Hatcher, but somehow that sits in my head. Maybe it's just because of the era, or maybe it was just the timing of it. Not entirely sure. I've always wanted to look back and find out more. And I've been doing research in the background, and even driving out to McDonald's and play places and things like that in the background for like the past couple of months, doing some research myself. Because apparently there's one left in New Jersey, but I have yet to find it, if it's even true. Wii Fit U! I actually own Wii Fit and Wii Fit Plus on the Wii, and I thought this would be a fun addition for the Wii U library, which I have pretty limited right now, but I still have the balance board. Might as well add another game that's compatible with it. I actually did see another copy. I actually saw 2 copies of the original Wii Fit in the store. One of them disc only, and the other one disc with case with instructions, and even with the receipt from someone who bought it back in 2012. I thought about picking them up as a joke, but I know Zalem has already, amassed so many Wii Fit games, and I'm sure he's going to be amassing more of them, and the U ones. I'll leave it to him instead, even if he's not anywhere near me. Now, for Wii U games going forward, Yoshi's Woolly World has always been one I've wanted to try out, and I love the style of it. I've played a little bit. It was either this one or Crafted World. I've played some of it before, and I was like, I could get more into this. I've grown up playing Yoshi's Story, so I know it's very similar to that in terms of its layout and platforming and things like that. And I do love this art style. Even the epic yarn from Kirby style, attaches to me. And then another one for the Wii U, New Super Mario Bros. U, and New Super Luigi U. So this was a bonus pack. They normally had the Luigi edition as a DLC. It would be sold separately, but this is a disc that has them both bundled together. And I don't mind that I have both of these as just the paper sleeves, even though this one, there was a case for it, but it wouldn't have had Luigi with it. and it would have cost about the same price. So I thought, you know what, I'll get more game, and it's okay with the packaging here. I can always supplement that later. I have a bunch of games like that where they don't have the full packaging, not even just in this video, but in other videos I've done before and the rest of my collection. That's okay. And these kind of work as packaging to a degree, but I'll do it as best as I can with that. Now moving over to the GameCube games. I already had a little bit before with Blu-rays, or Blue Storm, which I almost got disc only until I saw it with case. I'm like, oh yeah, again, almost the same price. Why not get it with the case? But these I couldn't find with the cases. That's fine. So, Backyard Baseball, 2004. I actually looked up a video about this one before buying it, just to see what it was like. Because I had always wanted to get Backyard Baseball outside of the PC games. It's been one of those things I wanted to transition. I used to have a lot of PC games growing up, and some of them I didn't know if there was a console counterpart to them. So this isn't exactly what I grew up with, but it's very similar to it from what I understand. It's in 3D, it has a lot of the same kinds of characters, and even more than what I grew up with, so I'm going to try to enjoy that. 1080 Avalanche is a game that I remember, a lot of talk about when growing up. I believe a friend of mine in high school even showed me this game, so I was like, yeah, I want to try out more of this myself. I'm not much of a snowboarding guy, but, I like, playing the extreme sports games. Every so often I have Tony Hawk American Wasteland, or, as I said before, that's jet skiing, so why not? And Smashing Drive. So this is one that I had learned about when the Rebel Taxi video for Weird Colorful Games came out, and mostly focused on like 2000s, mid-2000s games. So this was in that video, and I was very curious about trying it myself. I've passed it a couple times in the store, and I was like, well, it's still here. I'm here again. Let's go for it. I know it's not supposed to be Crazy Taxi. I know it's a different dynamic, but still sounds fun on its own. I've listened to the soundtrack before, even though it's a basic soundtrack, but I'm still excited to try it out myself. Then we move up here. This is a game I've actually seen a few times, and again was like, oh, well, maybe this time I'll try it out. Micro Machines 64 Turbo. So I like my racing games, of course, and Micro Machines are something I grew up with, so I thought I would try this one out. I did watch a review for this one before picking it up. It's nice to add another game to the N64 collection. Even though I've got most of what I'm looking for up to this point, I figure this will be just a fun extra edition. There's only a few other ones that are like, okay, I do technically own them in another port on another console, but if I find the N64 one, maybe. So this one I know is not not outside of that. We got Maximum Carnage for the Sega Genesis, and this is one that I know the Super Nintendo version, but I'd still like to try the Genesis version. I love the soundtrack for this one as well, so I definitely want to try this out in my own term. There's very few Spider-Man games that I've played, and usually the ones I have played, I need to get back to some of them, but they're usually the good ones, like the best ones of the bunch. Lethal Enforcer. So this one actually had, some writing on it, 10% off at the register, so it was a little bit cheaper, which is fine. I don't mind this extra writing on there, but I got this to get the Justifier, and I got the Justifier. I'm justifying the purchase of it, if you may, because I had the Scott DeWaz Box of Mystery that was from the last Charity Bonanza in 2022. I got the Sega Genesis one. The mystery game that I got with that was Menacer 6. Now that game is kind of like the Super Scope, like that game exists for the Super Nintendo. Menacer is basically the Sega Genesis answer to it. So it's like, oh, well, this is a game you need a particular light gun in order to play with it, and a receiver to put on your TV, and an old TV to play it with. I still wanted to experiment and see if the Justifier could actually play with the Menacer 6. And if not, then, I still have an actual game that it's made for that I can play it with. It's very finicky because some of the information out there on the Menacer 6 very limited. It's like, oh, here's the games that it's for, but it's a small list of games. And I have to wonder sometimes, some light gun games work with other ones, but not all the information is out there. I've discovered that myself a couple months ago with trying to find the GunCon for the PlayStation. GunCon 1, GunCon 2 are really expensive, but there have been third-party options that can swap between those relatively cheaper and relatively easily. So I have one of those, and I love it. And it's fantastic. So I thought, oh, maybe something like that will happen here, and if it doesn't, I'll see if I can return it, or do something else with it. I might have to get another accessory. There are some third-party Sega Genesis light guns, but there's very little information on them, or their compatibility, so I'm not ready to go on the eBay with that until trying this out, sooner. And then that brings us over to the last one, which I'm going to move over here. This is similar to the Yobo gun controller that I have for the PlayStation. This one also plugs into the PlayStation the very same way. But this one in black. And I don't actually know if it's from the same company, but it has a lot of the same design and button layout. There was also a Mad Catz one that was available in the store as well. It was a blue one. But that one was like almost twice as expensive as this one. So I was like, if this one does the trick, I think I'll just stick with this instead. This one also has the switches on there that say normal, GunCon 1, and GunCon 2. So I'm going to try this out. Basically, it's not that I have anything wrong with the orange Yobo that I have already. It's that as a third-party controller, I thought it would just be cool to have another kind to try out. And eventually want to make a video about them, so that'll be fun across the board for any consoles and other, brands of them. But I also thought, hey, I have a bunch of games for the PlayStation 1 that are light gun games that are usually good for two-player, so might as well have a second one. I have Time Crisis 1, I have Area 51, and I have Point Blank. I think there's another one or two out there. I can't remember off the top of my head right now. But that's the idea. It was like, I can have another controller so I can have multiple people playing at the same time, because, those games are made to play simultaneous multiplayer. I thought that would be fun. I had talked with a friend recently about that, so I thought that would be cool to talk about, or, to have that available to play. If I wanted to go to another thing here, I did technically recently get, as well, a Pink Lemonade Xbox One controller. This is from Power A? Or PDP? No, it's a Power A. Okay. Boxes in the corner. I love this color. It was also one of the cheaper ones, but I do actually love the color of this thing. Maybe because it's still summertime, but I like it. And I already have a white controller, so I didn't need it to be another white controller. Having it in pink and yellow is still bright, but it still looks really nice. And it's actually really comfortable. Almost even more comfortable than the white one I have down there. I also wanted to have it as a backup. Like, for one thing, yeah, I can also play two-player on Xbox One games, but I also want to have it as a backup because that one is a used controller. This one is brand new. And that one, I've had some sticky triggers on the back of it, just from when I received it. This one being brand new, it's going to feel a lot better. Like, when I played Hot Wheels Unleashed with this controller the other night, I actually had trouble letting go of this trigger. It got stuck a few times, which made me, spin out and lose some of the race. So I was like, yeah, I don't want to do that again. But at least I could play both on the same game. Not just for Hot Wheels Unleashed, but other games as well. I'm just really in a Hot Wheels mood right now, so don't at me. Well, I'm going to go test off all these games and all their respective systems, and I will chat up with you sometime later. But thank you for watching this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I would love to talk about more video game videos other than just video game hauls, but since we had a whole lot to cover here, I thought this would be fun. And let me know how the quality is for the camcorder. I'll look over the footage myself as well, and I'll decide if I should tweak some things around. Obviously, lighting is changing based on the room or the area of the room that I'm in, but I still want to try this as another recording method for future videos. I've actually wanted to do this way back in like 2020. I started using this particular camcorder for a review of caveman games for the NES, and for some reason all the footage got corrupted and I couldn't find it anymore, so I was like, well, I guess I'm not using that anymore. So I couldn't use the SD card at the time, and only recently had been able to get it replaced. So, yay, I'm back to that. Alright, I talked a lot. Thank you all so much for watching. Have yourself a wonderful night. Talk to you later.